And I'm glad the focus finally is on the right thing. I don't think anybody ever anticipated that we really would default on our debt. And now the focus is on the fact that our country has got to deal with these long-term deficits, mid and long-term deficits, and everybody realizes that even if you make it past this debt ceiling and don't do those tough things that need to happen, we're still going to be downgraded. Our country is still going to be in a really bad situation. So finally we're focused on the right thing.
Right, but you mentioned the cake analogy. A downgrade you think is going to happen whether we like it or not?
No, I'm saying that finally, and I think this is what a lot of us have been saying, we've got to dramatically change the character of spending in this country. And even if you were to make it past this short-term hurdle, which we all know we will, the fact is, if you haven't done that, we still are moving our country into crisis. And so I think everybody now realizes that and is focused on that. And, you know, we were probably very close to a deal last weekend. The Gang of Six came out, and it was perceived to be more focused on tax revenues, less focused on true entitlement reform. Whether that's true or not, I think the president tried to retrade the deal, and he also got pushback from Democrats at a noon meeting. And so it's just like a corporate merger. You know, when people come close to a deal and one side sort of backs out, it takes a while for everybody to get back. And so we're going through those gyrations right now.
I'm curious, how important is what S&P and Moody's and Fitch, for that matter, says? How has that entered into the political conversation? I mean, do you guys actually say we need to do this, otherwise we are going to get downgraded? Because obviously that is something that you don't want to get to, a downgrade of the U.S. Debt.
Yeah, I mean, I actually thought that's what they said months ago when they began giving a negative outlook. It was because they did not believe the political class in Washington had the courage or the will to do the things that needed to be done to really rectify these longer-term deficits. And so that, to me, has been my focus from day one. And you know, to me, that's been the issue. I mean, candidly, if I were y'all, I would sort of chill on this debt ceiling issue for a couple of days. I think we know that something is going to happen in that regard, and focus a lot more on that piece you're mentioning now, and that is that as a country, if we do not sober up and address this issue of these deficits, these longer-term deficits, that is our problem. And I think that's where everybody needs to be. Again, I would sort of chill and not worry so much anymore about the debt ceiling issue. We got a 10-to-1 debt coverage ratio anyway, so there are a lot of things that we know will keep us from ever defaulting on our debt.
Senator, you're saying two very important things as far as I'm concerned. One is that the Senate is dysfunctional from your experience, and you've been very clear about that. The other is that this is a seminal moment for the future of how we run America.
It is.
Is it not possible that you overload the event that we have now, which is the raising of the debt ceiling, with dysfunctionality at the heart of the system, a system that is too entrenched on either side, and actually we blow it?
I actually think that we may come to a good conclusion. That's my hope. You know, I'm going to judge as to whether I believe we've made those changes that are dramatic enough myself. As to whether we've really solved this longer-term problem. So I think, look, Simon, I know you and I had a little discussion last time I was on, and people talk about why the debt ceiling. Well, the fact is that, unfortunately, Congress will not do what Congress knows it has to do unless Congress is forced into action. And while, I hate to admit that, and candidly, you're right, it is embarrassing, that's where we are. And I think people now realize, well, this debt ceiling is, we know we're not going to default on our debt. We're glad that we are in this situation where finally people are focused on this longer term.
Is it a possibility, sir? Is it a possibility that we fight the next election with this front and center and actually put it to the people and possibly get some movement to one side or the other, so that one side or the other essentially wins through?
Well, look, Simon, one side or the other, I mean, let's face it, there's going to be some compromise that's going to take place. I mean, the fact is that even when you go beyond 2012, that same situation is going to exist. In the Senate, it takes 60 votes for anything to pass. We all know that. So, I don't think our country, I don't want to use hyperbole here, But I don't think our country can afford to wait until after the 2012 elections to solve this. I really do believe that we will be downgraded if we don't take what I would call dramatic steps to lower these deficits. So, you know, that to me, that political solution, if you will, to me has not been an acceptable, realistic solution based on where we are as a country.